What's going on, guys? My name is CD, and in today's video I want to bring you guys my Fortnite settings as well as my keybinds and sensitivity. Now, I do play on the PS4 Pro, so these are console settings, but they should transfer pretty easily over to the other consoles. But if you do play on PC, the only things that may help you out are my keybinds or my sensitivities. The other settings are going to be pretty difficult to transfer over, as PC is much more configurable. Now, before I get into my settings, I want to say that I have gone through a ton of YouTube videos to try and figure out the best keybinds as well as the best sensitivities, as well as some other tips and tricks on how to kind of improve your settings to make better gameplay, as well as just to run Fortnite smoother. More smooth? I don't know. So right off the bat here, the only option we have for video is motion blur, and I have that turned off. I do think that hinders your FPS a little bit if you keep that on, and it just does not look right for me, so I have that turned off. Next up here is the game settings, and first up is the sensitivities. So I have my X and Y at 0.55. Now, do not copy this exactly, as sensitivities are a personal preference, and you can't really tell someone what is their perfect sensitivity. It's something you have to play with, get used to, adjust here and there. But one thing I can tell you, and I've heard over and over and over, is that in Fortnite, you probably should be playing at somewhere between a 0.55, which is what I'm at, and a 0.80 or somewhere around there. If you can play in between those numbers, you're going to give yourself the best shot at being a better player. Now, if you play lower than that, it's fine. I actually started at a 0.4 or a 0.45, and I did just feel like I was a bit too slow. And in Fortnite, there's a lot of whipping back and forth, so the higher sensitivity, if you can control it and aim with it, is probably better for you. Moving on down, I have the targeting and scope sensitivities both at 0.35. and my building and editing at about 1.6. Moving on down here, I'm not going to go over every single one, but you guys can pause the video to see exactly the different control options that I play with. One big one being sprint by default, and you'll see that in the keybinds later. I actually do not have a sprint button, because if I have sprint by default on, why would I need a sprint button? Other than that, the biggest ones I would say are these two bottom ones here: auto sort consumables to the right and builder pro build immediately. And at the very bottom here, there is a little trick for you. If you are noticing some FPS drops, turn these three things off. What they do is basically record your replays, so you know you can go back and see what happened in a previous game. If you turn these off, your system runs a little smoother, as it does not have to record. And obviously the downside to that is you do not get recordings, but most of the time I don't need them, as I have a third-party software through an Elgato. So if you need it, keep them on. If you don't, I would say turn them off. Next up is the colorblind assist. I do have it on the Protonope 10. I've heard this helps see through the storm a little bit better. That's about the only difference, and I would say probably go Google some other videos, and they may be able to go a little bit more in depth on exactly what this does or what you may need. And finally, here we have my keybinds. So again, pause the video if you guys need to see everything. Now, you could copy this exactly, but my guess is it's going to be very different than what you probably currently use. So maybe just take note of exactly where I have everything and how I have the controller laid out, and that may help you determine on exactly what buttons you should use for what. Now, as I said at the beginning, I've watched a ton of videos, so this is kind of like a compilation of all those videos and how I like the controller to be, as well as my background in FPSs like Call of Duty. Moving on to the build controls, I didn't change much here. I believe all the build, placing, and selects are the same. Moving on to the edit controls here, and then finally on to the dead zones. So I believe that is all of the Fortnite settings. Hopefully this helps some of you guys out with either sensitivities, keybinds, whatever it may be. If you guys do have any questions, please put them in the comments down below, and I will answer anything that I can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys later.